Hello everybody, welcome to the Brave the Wild YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing a review on an Aliexpress tent. This tent is a knockoff of an MSR Hubba Hubba NX1. That's a one-person tent. Okay, so before I get this set up here, let's go over some of the specs. The bag here is about 17 inches wide, 17 inches long, pardon me, 6 inches wide. And the weight on it is 3.67 pounds. Now that's based on my scale. I'd say it's going to be about a 3.5 pound tent, roughly. Okay, here's the bag for the poles. Now the pegs here, I did give them a good bend test. They seem quite strong. They are relatively long as well. I didn't measure them, but I'd say they're definitely 6 inches long. And they're quite lightweight. They're not bad all in all. And they give you 8 of those, okay? And they've got little strings on each end. Oh, that one's coming off. Anyways, that's your tent pegs, and I believe there was 1 or 2 red guy-out ropes in there. So, without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to set up this tent. Now, you're free to fast forward this if you want to stick around. I did have a couple of issues initially setting this tent up with the pegs sort of staying in the grommets. They kept popping out, but not a super huge deal. Before I do a setup, I am going to show you a couple of things here. This has got hubs on it, if you can see. Now, the tent poles don't go very deep in the hubs at all. I would say that's about 1 centimeter deep. So I'm a little concerned about the strength there. I would just be cautious when you're doing your setup. Make sure that it doesn't snag. Make sure you don't have junk in there that's preventing it from even going further, because you don't have a lot of space to travel, okay? Quick thing to keep in mind. So, again, while I'm setting this up, I'll just tell you guys where I got this from. Aliexpress. I bought it from Canada. The price with shipping Canadian was $111. Which is not bad at all. American, I imagine that's going to come to about maybe $90, maybe even $85. Now there is some issues here with the cordage popping out, and I found that really annoying. This happens often. This is yeah. See, now I can't get this in because of the cord. So I'm kind of glad that you guys are seeing this, because it really is a bit of a pain. And it's sort of ridiculous, in my opinion, that it's even doing this, because, I mean, look, now I can't even set this tent up. So here's the thing. There's a price to pay for buying a cheaper tent. It's obvious. And right now you can see firsthand, this is the price that I'm paying, unable to really even get that in. Okay, finally we've got that in. Boy, oh boy. Okay, and again, get that hub in there, give it a quick inspection, make sure it's okay. This is the center pole here. All right, here we go. We're going to go for the grommets here, and hopefully it doesn't pop out on me. The first side is usually fine. That usually stays pretty tight. Okay, I got that in. It's usually this side here that gives me a hard time. Again, sorry, going back to the details, I bought this, Aliexpress.com, $111 Canadian, about 90 US. The seller is called Alice Outdoor Gear Store, as in Alice in Wonderland. Alice Outdoor Gear Store is the name of the seller. And I'll have a few more details about this seller and the customer service in just a moment, okay? Now, the clips on this tent are minimal, which is nice and sometimes not so nice. This, by the way, has to come up to the top. And then I'll show you a few more details of the canopy itself. You got to hold that like that, do this. Now, I mean, they could have put one in the center so that this isn't loose. They could have put one here, giving you a little bit more space. But that's okay. So the benefit to this is it's faster to set up because there's a couple less clips, but it's kind of cheap, right? They cheaped out. So let me show you some of the quality control issues here that I dealt with. There's definitely some areas where the seams are not sewn straight. That's fine, that's acceptable as long as it's stitched. But unfortunately with this tent, it isn't stitched, and I'll show you where I noticed the first major problem here. If you can see this, this was not ripped by me. This showed up like this. This is not even stitched inside of here where it's supposed to, so it's open. Okay, and then again here, another quality issue. You've got this grommet here. The strap doesn't even go over, so there's a chance the grommet could even slip out. I didn't like that at all. Now I contacted Alice Outdoor Gear on Aliexpress, and I mentioned this stuff to them, and basically the best thing they could do for me was give me back $15, which I thought was kind of silly. And I said to them, you should probably replace this, and I'll send you this one back, and you can fix it and sell it again. But then they basically stopped communicating to me after that, and so I would not trust that their customer service is good, in my opinion. And I hate to say that, I don't want to bash people, I really don't. But from the looks of it, Alice Outdoor Gear on AliExpress is not really good in the area of customer service. So this is our tent here. Let's put the fly on. Now this is a symmetrical design. So when you do your fly, you really have to make sure that you know where your door is. And the reason for that is because it only has one door, right? So if you don't, you set it up the wrong way, then all of a sudden you go to get inside, there's no entrance for it. So we'll make sure that we've got that right to start off. Okay, so this basically just clips at the bottom here. The clips aren't too bad. They're just plastic clips, nothing super special. I think you could replace them if they broke and you had to. Oh, hang on, sorry, before I mention that, let me just pull this back for you here. I'm just gonna hop inside and just give you an idea of the space of the tent. And we'll talk about the features on the inside of it before I go and put the fly on. Okay, now I'm 5'9", so this tent easily could have somebody about 6'3" in it, and I don't think they'd be rubbing their heads or their feet unless they had massive feet, because the tent is quite long. If I put my feet right at the end where my toes are just touching and I lay down, I can basically extend my arms out like this, and there's still several inches before I'm even touching the tent. And the design here, because the MSR Hubba Hubba NX1 is a great design that they're copying, and that's fine, they can do that. Because of that good design, you've got that nice straight wall here, so it's really nice for your feet and your head. And then, just in case you didn't see, there is ventilation at the head and the feet, and there's really, I would call, sufficient ventilation up here. And I actually like that the bathtub comes a little high, because it really prevents that cold draft from coming up from the ground and hitting you. So things can breathe, but you're still protected from that cold draft. Nice design, and of course I credit MSR to that design. But the only thing here that I didn't like with this particular knockoff is the fact that they did not seam seal or tape any of the seams along the bathtub. So right here, that's fine. It's just one piece of fabric overlapping, but here they should have done a taping. So you're gonna have to go in, buy some Gear Aid seam sealer, do that yourself. Not a huge deal, really not that bad. I mean, you're saving the money, so that's okay. All right, now another thing with the fly, in respect to the canopy, the inside of the tent, the fly does not have any Velcro points to attach it to the poles. So this fly basically just sits loose on its own. And so in a storm, you don't get that extra stability. I didn't really like that myself, but you know, I think with manufacturers like this who are making a product really cheap, their objective is just to cut corners. They just want to save money, and that's fine. I get it. I understand that to a certain degree. But because of that, now you have to make a lot of adjustments to certain parts and make sure that this pole ends up here and this pole ends up here. Otherwise, the you know, there could be a risk of puncture. There's no reinforced fabric here, and the stitching is really not very good. There is one section here, you probably won't be able to see it, but there's just bunched up stitching right there. It just looks like they made a massive mistake and then just left it and walked away. So that's the tent. I'm gonna do a bit of a guy out here with my little weights that I've got on the ground. All right. Oh, sorry, before I do that, the back end of this tent has, of course, this tie-down point right here, good ventilation coming in, and then you've got this vent that you can open up, which I thought was really nice. However, this guy out point is very weak. It's double stitched only about 3/4 of the way through, so in a high wind, this would be of concern to me personally, and I've been in a lot of high winds with my tents, and they have to hold up. That's just the way it is. You can't be suffering in the middle of the night with a tent that's collapsing on you. So, all right. And speaking of collapsing, we are going to take a look at the potential snow load of this tent. Now, I also have the Light Fighter 1, which is a phenomenal tent, American made, excellent quality, and that is a really strong tent. I mean, that'll hold a snow load. You know, you push down on that and it's a tough tent. This one is not like that, but of course it's a single pole with just a basic cross pull. So if I put weight on here, give you an example, okay? This here is a 10-pound plate. Okay, we're gonna put that 10-pound plate on there, and that holds it. That's not too bad. For a 10-pound plate, I really don't think you're gonna get an accumulation of 10 pounds of snow just because of the size of the tent. I think for the most part, things will kind of come off. You might get a little bit in the center, but all in all, I wouldn't worry too much about that. This certainly isn't a 4-season tent, but I do find that more and more, myself included, people are using 3-season tents for 4-season because they just want to save the weight. So this is it here. This is the front. This is our other guy out point. Now, fortunately, this guy out point here is multiple stitched into the body of the tent. This is a little on the thin side, but I'm sure this will be strong enough. So I think if you guy that out, you should be okay. All right, so final conclusions here. Now this is just an initial look, an initial test of the setup of the tent. I haven't used it yet, I haven't tried it out. I will be doing that in the future, but all in all, for the money, here's the thing, you get what you pay for. This is dirt cheap, so there's some compromises. However, the biggest downfall to buying this tent from Aliexpress is unfortunately the customer service. Now, I have no problem getting something cheap if I've paid less for it, that's fine. But when the customer service is poor, that sort of, you know, that's sort of the deal breaker for me. But regardless, I've got it. I'm going to try it out. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Again, the information on this tent, this is a knockoff of the MSR Hubba Hubba NX1. If you do a search on AliExpress, I'm sure you'll find it. The seller is Alice Outdoor Gear Store. If you can find it from somewhere else, make sure they've got free returns. That's the big thing, because if you get one that's got holes and something's torn like mine, make sure you can return it. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. Brave the wild. God bless you. We'll see you again.